mornings, my mom would wake up everyone and let you have some coffee every day. Not a large amount, but everybody, my dad would get more, but everyone would have, at least 2 mouthfuls of coffee.
I am a lot more brighter in the day if I have my cup of coffee first.
54% of people, that's more than 100 million Americans, brewing coffee at home and buying coffee at locations like these every day. But how many of them know where their coffee comes from? How many of them know how it's made? Coffee comes from warm climates, countries like Vietnam, Ethiopia, Kenya, Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, and Caribbean islands like St. Lucia. St. Lucia is a small island in the West Indies. Though they grow many crops, including coffee, tourism is the island's main source of revenue.
And everything grows here because we are volcanic and our soil is very fertile. This here is a coffee tree, okay? As I told you, coffee was brought here by the Spaniards from South America from the 17th century. We used to export a lot of coffee to the UK. The UK was our mother, so then whatever we had, they would buy, okay? The process of harvesting, it's very challenging. It's a tedious work because, as you can see, we have red and we have green, so you cannot cut the tree down. So you have to climb and harvest it manually. You will harvest the red and then you leave the green ones. This is coffee which is ready to go through the process of crushing, fermenting as well. Coffee have to be fermented too. This will burst open and then we are going to extract the bean from it. Ooh. So we have to ferment the coffee for 3 days. Okay, we'll put it under a little bit of pressure too to get that slimy part out. You have to wash the coffee. Okay, after fermenting for 3 days, then it is washed and placed in the sun for drying just like cocoa. But it will be as clean and shiny, it will be white. Okay, we have to go through that manual process of getting that peel off. Let me see if I get a dry one. When my mother, and this whole process of getting that out actually was done nighttime. And you could just imagine at the time we have no electricity. So my mom would put everyone to sit and get this little peel off the coffee. So this is a dry coffee bean. So we are using a pot, get the coffee in there to roast it until it turns black. And we are using a mutton pestle to pong it. And after, we are using the machine. Now we have machine. This one was for when it reaches, it's drying, it's dried. Okay, we'll be taking out that little hard shell over it. This one will actually, what we call the peeler, it will peel it off, take off that wet shell when it is in its wet stage.
St. Lucia does not export its coffee to the U.S., but a company called Viking and Castries produces the coffee for the island. Things are done a little differently at the Roanoke factory in St. Louis. This 100-year-old company doesn't grow the beans themselves, but they import from all over the world and roast the beans here in their factory, shipping their products to more than 20 states throughout the U.S.
Stock right here is where we receive the green coffee beans that come in ocean containers from all over the world. And so we get a couple containers a week, an ocean container. It may have, you know, a couple thousand bags on it. Each pallet of beans gets weighed, so we keep track of exactly how much we receive, and then they get stored in the warehouse. And you can see there's different colors of bags, which would indicate different sourcings of where the bags come from. Okay, so then the next step of that is when we do the roasting, there's roasting sheets that create a blend. That blend determines how many pounds of each coffee type need to be dumped together to create the blend for roasting. Okay, and then our bean operator will take the roasting blend sheets and pick the beans from the warehouse and dump them into the big bean sifter here. So this bean dump station goes through a sifting screen that will sift out burlap and pieces of wood and smaller things like dirt and small things that aren't. So it's basically will sift out the things that are not the size of green coffee beans. Okay. Beans come out of the sifter. This is a bucket elevator. If you look in here, you can see so the beans dump down here in the bucket elevator conveys them up. Okay. And they convey them to a horizontal screw conveyor here that takes the beans into our roasting area. So the operator will dump the beans into the bin. They get transferred to that screw conveyor over here, which then transfer the beans. They transfer the beans all the way up to the top here. There's like a 60-foot elevation up there at the top where we have. The beans will come down from here and they'll feed into the roaster. And the roasting cycle lasts anywhere from 13 to 15 minutes. And the beans will go up to about 450 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty hot. It's very short roasting cycle. Then they get hit with water to quench to basically stop the roasting. And then they get discharged into these cooling things here. They're hot, so be careful. Okay, those beans are about 400 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Okay, so you'll see here, this is what the green beans look like before they're roasted. And then the beans darken and they swell. They get bigger with the roasting, okay, as the water gets, they change, okay, so you can see that the light roasted beans are smaller than the dark roasted beans, okay, so they get darker and larger and lighter in density as they go through the roasting cycle. And we have in here 7 different packaging lines, and they can package we package anywhere from like 1 1/4 ounce all the way up to 8-pound bags. They'll package the ground coffee. The over there does whole bean coffee. So we don't grind it.
So, well, yeah, coffee for me personally is very important. I'm a professional coffee taster and buyer, so I live and breathe coffee. And coffee in America is, extremely important. We may be the largest consumer, one of the largest, if not the largest consumer in the world. And if coffee, would suddenly stopped coming to the U.S., I think there'd be a revolution. I think people would go crazy. People seem to